Hello, welcome along to Bangkok ChitChat and part 2 of Thailand travel and quarantine experience. We've done part 1 already. Don't forget to check that out when we talked about paperwork for flying with Kay Goslin. Today we're going to see what she said about how much her ticket prices were traveling from America to here in Thailand.
Okay.
With the airlines, did you know when you had to book your ticket, was it really expensive? Was it normal price or how was that?
I think it's the full flight, so it's only one-way ticket. It will cost about $1,000 to $1,500. It depends on the airline. So the price range is about that. Yeah.
So they weren't taking advantage of you, which is good.
I still think it's a little bit expensive because normally with like that price, you can get like a round trip ticket on economy. But for this time, it's like one way. But I think it's better than nothing because you can't really get a flight back. So, and then it's a social distancing.
So she says $1,000 to $1,500 one way.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much. So she said it's the same price.
I've heard different figures. I've heard up to 70,000.
One way. Well, yeah, obviously one way.
So it depends. There's specific airlines. There's specific flights which are for coming back to Thailand. Yeah. So you have to book on these specific flights. Yeah. But from the expense point of view, maybe I'm looking at it from the business angle, but if she $1,000 to $1,500, yeah, that would be return if you go back to UK economy class and cheapest airline. Yes. You're really talking about 40 grand normally if you're going back to UK, but she's coming from the US.
Well,
yeah?
my family, when they come over to visit me, they pay about £700 return from Heathrow to here and back.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at it. There's less people in the flight.
Well, they have to have social distancing, so the flight can only be half full.
Right.
When full.
The food has to be particularly. We're told one of the people were saying about the Falang side, they didn't actually have food. They had snacks and things like that for 11 hours. Yeah. But they have to prepare the food so it's all cheaper. Clean, etc. Yeah, so they're saving money there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the flight costs or for the parking cost and all this kind of stuff, because you've got a full control room for one flight. You don't turn around and say, well, we'll have less people there because...
Well, they've probably been laid off like the rest of working community
around
the world.
So they're coming in for particular flights from different countries. Yeah?
And I'll tell you something where they are making money is that I know like airlines like Eva Air always worked on cargo as well as passengers. And I know some of the bigger airlines did it as well, but they really did it. Like where the seating is on floor 1, it was only half of that, of the what do you call it, where the people sit. The other half on the top tier was cargo. They were a big cargo carrier.
Right.
But now a lot of the airlines are making up their money by doing cargo.
Yeah,
so they're not
cargo costs have shot up.
Well, you know, like we're half full, we're not making the money more. No, but we're taking more cargo. So I just don't like people, and I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they are, but taking advantage of people in dire straits. It's like when there's a flood or something like that, people with supermarkets were food hoarding so that they could sell it at a higher price later because of the circumstances. I'm against all that. Is wrong.
Oh, yeah, okay. Nobody likes anyone taking advantage of. Yeah, but I mean, you know, but are they taking advantage because they're half empty? Yeah.
Half the staff to pay?
Not necessarily. There'll be certain rules and regulations they have to follow. Also, they've got the costs of following rules and regulations for the COVID protection. Yeah, so they've probably got more cost per
fuel
flight.
Fuel's not cheaper. Obviously, they have to still fuel the plane up.
That's right, and they've got to have someone to check it. They've got to have someone to fill it. They've got all the services at the airport before they leave, services when they arrive. Yeah, and I don't even think. In fact, the pilots, I don't think they're allowed to leave the plane.
Really?
No.
It's probably the safest.
Yeah, if they're flying back and forward,
yeah. Why they have to go into 14-day quarantine if they get up?
Yes, every 14 days. Jeez, I mean, so I'm not sure if it's an unfair.
Well, another big
price,
expense is,
but even though it is one way.
Well, another big expense also is, and actually my wife works in this department in an airline, is refunds.
Yes.
You know, lots of people trying to get a refund now because they're not in that 4 category to come here. You know, obviously the majority of people that want to come to Thailand can't. They can't get a one-way flight because they need a 2-way flight for a start.
Yeah.
Because they need to get back home.
Hey, here's a question. If you wanted to gamble it, could you buy a 2-way flight and then use that, you know, an open ticket for 6 months? Okay, you're gambling, you might not be able to come back in 6 months, but we think...
Well, a lot of
wood,
the
yeah.
airlines are sort of saying, we don't give you a refund, but we'll leave that return ticket open to you. Or, I mean, not return ticket, the ticket open for a year. Hotels are doing that as well. Like, they're not going to give you your money back.
Right.
But there are...
If they're still open.
Yeah, and then where are you going to get the money from anyway? So... But from what I've gathered from people saying, if you carry on and be persistent to your airline, they will refund.
Right. So here's the next question. You're 72 hours. What happens if within that 70 hours of submitting your certificates...
You've got the COVID.
Yeah, and you can't fly. Would they get a refund? Maybe someone in the airlines or travel agency can send us a message in the comments on how this is handled.
Well, because also, if you haven't watched part 1, this comes up in part 1 of this, is the hotel, you lose your money deposit on the hotel.
That's right.
Is it deposit or is it the full amount?
Full amount, you have to pay full in advance.
Which was between 30,000 and 70,000.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It
So
can go up to 200,000 depending on what style of accommodation
you've
you
got
want.
your extortionate airline ticket price, all thrown away if you catch it within the 72 hours.
So I think it was basically saying, unless you really need to come back, don't.
Yeah. Now listen, if you're watching this and you've tried or you've had an experience of it, like you haven't watched our first one, which was the full interview with Kay, who was a Thai citizen working in America. Well, I don't know if she's working, but she was in America and she came up to Thailand, went through the 14-day quarantine free. This is what we're comparing with. But if you've got any stories, especially if you're Falang, of either coming here and being successful or giving up, we'd like to hear about it and
but this is more about the Falang experience compared to the Thai experience as well.
We're using Kay as a benchmark for
That's
Thais
correct.
and see how it could change. All right, well that's that for now. Part 3 will be coming up in the next couple of days when we're going to talk about hotel selection and payment. This is how Kay did it, and we'll be comparing it with how Falangs do it as well. So keep it here on Bangkok. Where are we?
ChitChat.